Hello, welcome. I'm excited to be here once again because the Super Eagles of Nigeria are through to the quarterfinals at the ongoing African Cup of Nations in Morocco. It was a fantastic performance from ALgeria and his boys, and it is that momentum I'm bringing on the show today. My name is Edwin Onyebole. Said this is your favorite sports show, Sports Pizza. We have a lot to dissect today, and joining me on set, of course, is my homeboy Bankole Oladuni. But before I bring Banky on board, let me give you a quick rundown on today's show. We'll talk about the African Cup of Nations in details, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, and of course, club football, bountiful across all leagues in Europe, in England, in France, in Germany, in Italy, and of course in Spain. Don't forget, the Tipsters Corner will give you all of the tips for punters going into games this weekend. So keep it locked down on the show. We'll go on a short break. When we return, I'll be bringing my homeboy Bankole on board. Welcome back. Excitement still in the air. Banky, the Super Eagles of Nigeria, through to the quarterfinals. Welcome on board.
Edwin, it's good to be here. It's good to be here to celebrate the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Yes, sir.
Another quarterfinal berth. So hopefully, this will lead to the trophy instead of the finals that we got to the last time. But yeah, good performance, if you can say that. But yeah, I think so far it has been a decent run for the Super Eagles of Nigeria. Hopefully, long may it continue.
For ALgeria, do you think he's proven his doubters wrong? They say the end justifies the means. There was media blackouts. They weren't allowed into the training camp of the Super Eagles or training ground of the Super Eagles for 3 consecutive days, and it sort of caused a controversy on the social space. According to him, he's the manager of the Super Eagles for Nigerians, not for the media. He didn't want distractions, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, he won, and I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah, I'm very comfortable with whatever it is that I did. You know, will I say closing the doors, you know, to media for 3 days? I don't have a problem with that. You know, you are not in the job to pander to the press. You know, so whatever it is that you are doing, as long as you are getting results, it doesn't matter. But for me, I don't think he has done enough, you know, to silence his doubters. And I'm not talking about doubters because he blacklisted, you know, journalists from. I'm talking about people who have seen the Super Eagles of Nigeria. The last manager who was in charge of the Super Eagles of Nigeria got us to the finals. And anything less than that is, to me, is a failure. You know, he has to go on to win it, and if he doesn't, then I don't think it's good enough to win it. But if he doesn't, then it just confirms, you know, my expectations of ALgeria. So I think the only way he can silence his doubters, the only way he can silence the critics or the criticism that has been hitting him ever since we failed to qualify for the World Cup, has to be him winning the AFCON. Because, like I said, there has been a standard that has been set, you know, from the last tournament. So if he falls short of that standard, then he has failed.
But Bankole is 4-4 for ALgeria at the African Cup of Nations. He's 2-3 games away from lifting the African Cup of Nations. How about we focus more on the positives that have seen us get to the quarterfinals, rather than those negatives? And a lot of those negatives, I would say, are not down to him. Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, credit to ALgeria, credit to the Super Eagles of Nigeria for getting to the quarterfinals. But going forward, anything short of winning the tournament is still a failure. I personally don't think we should be celebrating getting to the quarterfinals. But he has done a good job. I didn't expect us to play at this level. I expected us to get here, but I didn't expect us to play at this level. But anything short of winning the tournament, I think, is a failure. Like I said, you can praise him for whatever it is he has done. You can praise him for the 9 points, maximum points in the group stage. But you also have to, you know, criticize him if he fails, you know, to get to the trophy. Nobody celebrates winning. You know, nobody celebrates the round of 16 or the quarterfinals. You know, even bronze. We are the nation who have won the most bronze at the AFCON. So I think the only expectation on the Super Eagles of Nigeria, the only expectation for ALgeria is to win the AFCON.
For the players, I'm thoroughly impressed with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially Lookman and Victor Osimhen. These are 2 guys who have been our most important players. You know, especially Lookman. I know you don't agree, but the 2 major tournaments he has played for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, I have felt he has been our most important player. You know, and my opinion on Alex Iwobi I think he has also improved this tournament. I think ALgeria has found a role, for him, and I think he has simplified his game to a certain extent. I think my problem with Iwobi is he's always having too many touches, and for a player whose decision making is not as elite as you'd expect it to be, he's always making mistakes. But now he has simplified his game. He doesn't take too many touches. He's quite precise, and quick, when it comes to his decision making. So I think he has also helped us in terms of controlling games. Shout out to Wilfred Ndidi, also captain. I don't think he was expecting to be the captain, especially retirement, Willem Troost-Ekong right before the tournament. So he was a lot of weight, hanging on his shoulders to lead the Super Eagles into yet another AFCON. But yeah, I think generally the players have been good.
It's going to get tougher for the Super Eagles because you have teams like Senegal, you have teams like Morocco, Cameroon also, that fantastic win against South Africa. It's going to get tougher for the Super Eagles of Nigeria.
Yeah, and I think we probably don't have what it takes, to beat these guys. It is one thing to beat Tanzania, Tunisia, and Uganda. It is another thing, to go on and go toe-to-toe with the likes of Senegal, go toe-to-toe with the likes of Cameroon, go toe-to-toe with the likes of Morocco. These are guys who have been touted as favourites, for the tournament. And you look at the quality that they've shown in this tournament also, it has been nothing short of elite, especially Senegal. I've absolutely believed they are, the favourites. They've also shown that they are capable, of going toe-to-toe with anybody, not just on the continent, but also, in the world. Prior to this AFCON, they defeated England, and that shows you the quality. And it's a team that has a lot of continuity also, a perfect blend of youth and experience, and they've been together for a while. So I think, yes, Senegal is my favorite, but for the Super Eagles of Nigeria, it's going to be very, very difficult to see them beating either of these guys. All
right, the Super Eagles of Nigeria still basking in the euphoria of that win against Mozambique, but hey, a tougher test awaits them in the quarterfinals. Let's go on a break. When we return, there's more on the show. It is Sports Pizza. All right, welcome back from that short break. It's still Sports Pizza away from international football. We're heading straight to club football. And Banky, Manchester City won, Chelsea won. Chelsea were missing key players, and they went into that game without Enzo Maresca, no Caicedo, no Cucurella, Sanchez also out of that game. But they say fortune rewards the brave, and they were brave getting that point at the end of the game.
Edwin, one thing I can always say about football is it rewards simplicity. And you look at Callum McFarlane, the interim manager for Chelsea. Yeah. You look at the fact that he didn't go all out. He didn't try to show any tactical shrewdness to his game. He played the fullbacks as fullbacks. He played the wingers as wingers, and he played a striker who seldomly came to the midfield to link up with the other players. So you look at that. Even from the equalizer, it was an overlapping fullback, which you rarely see under Enzo Maresca. And these are the things that I keep talking about. You don't force players into the system. You create a system that allows the player to strive. So I think for Callum, I think he has done a good job here. At least you can say he went unbeaten against Pep Guardiola, and not a lot of managers can be boastful about that. But going forward, I think you look at how these guys played. You look at how you saw players in their right position, and how he got the best out of them. I think whoever the next manager would be should also toe that line.
And from City's perspective, another game where they drop points. You get a feeling that Arsenal maybe don't have to do much. Maybe they just need City to keep dropping points for them to win their first league title since 2004.
Yeah, I think for Arsenal, I think a lot of people have been focused, myself included, on how they would bottle this instead of how they've consolidated on their lead so far. And this looks like a team who is ready to go on to win the championship. You look at Manchester City. Especially, there are too many gaps defensively for Manchester City, which you can see other teams who try to take advantage of. Nico O'Reilly and Matthias Nunes, two midfielders in fullback position, is definitely something that would worry Pep Guardiola. All of these lapses are not something you'd see in an Arsenal team. These are a team that defensively they are good in midfield wise. They also have one of the best midfielders in the league in Declan Rice. the introduction or the coming back of Rodri might help, but I also don't think it will elevate them to the level at which they'll overtake Arsenal's position or pole position in the Premier League table. But for Manchester City, it's still a long way to go. I think they'll still harbor the hope that they can still take advantage of whatever mess or whatever slip up Arsenal might have. But Arsenal are not looking like a team that might slip up, and also Manchester City are not looking like a team that can go on a run.
And still in England for Manchester United, Ruben Amorim coming out of the press to say, hey, I was appointed as the manager and not the head coach. What did he mean by that?
First of all, he was not even appointed as the manager. He was appointed as the head coach. So where he's getting the idea that he was appointed as the manager, I don't know. Yeah. But I also think some of these managers they just need to keep quiet and do their job.
Yeah.
You've gotten a new front line, in Sesko, Brian Mbeumo and Matthias Cunha, and yet the improvements that we've seen have been marginal. A lot of people expected significant progress, going forward from last season. But you look at Ruben Amorim, you are not in a position of strength, to come out and leverage whatever it is that you have against, the sporting directors or the board. And he's taking a sip from the Maresca juice. If you want to get sacked, walk away, but you cannot walk away from the whole compensation package. But I think for what he has done so far, he is not in a position to now come out and start making demands. He has not shown enough, tactical acumen or enough managerial acumen, for anybody to bestow the position of a manager to him. Even his job, which is supposed to coach, the team into results, he has not done enough of that. So I think ever since he has gotten the job, I think the accumulative points, if you take it from last season,
about 14th.
Yes. So that is not someone you'd want to give more responsibility. If you have shown that you can do or you can make do with what you have, you have not improved any players. The players are even looking worse off. You are playing players out of position. Even the new players have regressed. Since they've joined the club. So I think I don't know what's going on with Ruben Amorim. But sometimes I think he needs to just keep quiet, and do your job.
No Kylian Mbappe, no problem. Gonzalo Garcia with his first senior hat-trick. He scored 4 goals at the Club World Cup. I think he ended as the highest goal scorer. This time around, he came in for the injured Kylian Mbappe and took his chance. And this is why I'm going to Bankole. Again, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but do you think this is the beginning of the end for someone like Vinicius Junior? And I'm saying that because if Gonzalo grows into the player Real Madrid think he can be, then the most obvious option is to move Kylian Mbappe to the left and you play him as a centre forward. He has everything you need from a centre forward, with the exception of experience, which is going to get over time. Maybe this is where, okay, we have Gonzalo Garcia, Kylian Mbappe can finally play in this position where he's been the most effective. For
Vinicius Junior, I think he's in a position where he can be replaced. He's in a position where you can swap him out and there can be a clear improvement in the team. He's the most dispensable player. Yes, let me put it that way. You look at his contract situation where there seems to be like a problem with extending his contract. You look at the fact that he has not gotten along well, with Xabi Alonso. You also look at his performances, this season. They've not exactly been stellar. So you look at all of that and you put all of that together, you would expect, Xabi Alonso to make the decision of putting Kylian Mbappe on the left, where I think he's probably going to get the best out of him. Yes, he has scored, gazillion number of goals through the middle, but I think on the left, you get a whole other side of Kylian Mbappe. You probably get, the whole package, if you can put it that way. But for Gonzalo Garcia, he's still young. Let's not forget. His profile is something that might work out with, with Real Madrid, especially when you consider they have a lot of runners, and a player who, can hold up the ball, a player who, has that physical, ability, might, add something to like Kylian Mbappe. It would help with the runners like Kylian Mbappe making runs in behind, Rodrigo making runs in behind, Master Tuano, also there and about. But I think he's still quite young. I think they would give him, time to adapt. Maybe they can bring in a striker, of the same physical, profile, but a much more experienced striker. But I don't think he's ready, to play at this level for Real Madrid. And Real Madrid will be competing in the Champions League. They're already under pressure in the La Liga, also in the Super, Copa. I don't think he's ready, to take that man. So I still think going forward, if everybody's fit. It's still going to be a front line of Vinicius Junior, Kylian Mbappe, and Rodrigo.
Still with Spain, but this time not the Spanish La Liga. It is the Super Cup. This week you have Real Madrid versus Atletico Madrid and Barcelona versus Athletic Club. All eyes on the Spanish Super Club. Guess who's defending champion? Barcelona defending champions. Maybe we might see another Clasico. They find a way to ensure that both Real Madrid and Barcelona don't meet in the semi-finals. And quick one on that.
I think it's expected. Athletic Bilbao have not started the season well, and up against a Barcelona team who are gradually getting into their own. I think that is a given for Barcelona to get into the final. But for Real Madrid against Atletico Madrid, we've seen this fixture. At the start of the season, it was a whitewash. Backlashing, for Real Madrid 5-1, and you'd expect Real Madrid to have taken lessons from that and see how they can negate the strength of Atletico Madrid. So I think that would be a much more closer call than the Barcelona against Atletico Bilbao. All
right, there you have it. It's time to go on another break. This time it's our video for the week, and when we return, we'll wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner. Welcome back. It's time to wrap up the show with the Tipsters Corner, and we have two games for you this weekend. One in the FA Cup, Tottenham versus Aston Villa, and the other in the German Bundesliga, Bayer Leverkusen versus Stuttgart.
For Bayer Leverkusen against Stuttgart, I'm a big fan of Sebastian Hoeneß. I think he has done a good job with Stuttgart, and you can clearly see how they've been progressing ever since he has taken charge of that job. They qualified for the Champions League last season. They will probably also qualify, for the Champions League this season. And for a Bayer Leverkusen team who has been largely inconsistent, you look at the post-Xabi Alonso era, it has been mad with bad decision making from the people who are in charge of the club. They brought in Erik ten Hag. He looked out of sorts. He sacked him after the first league game, and ever since then results have improved, but they have not improved to the point at which you see them competing favorably for the Bundesliga title or for the top four. But I think this is a game that would see goals, both teams to score over 2.5, but I also would want to put my money on Stuttgart. For Tottenham against Aston Villa, I think it has to be Aston Villa for me. You look at Spurs and how they've played, with Thomas Frank. A lot of expectations, were put on top of a manager who had zero experience, playing at this level, who had zero experience competing, at this level. In Thomas Frank up against Unai Emery, who has shown, to be very flexible, has shown to, be one of the best managers around. Not even in the Premier League, in the game generally. So I think Aston Villa should be qualifying from this one.
There you have it. These are expert analysis, expert opinion on the possible outcomes of this game. Please, we are not responsible for any bet loss. You have to bet responsibly, and you have to be 18 years and above. This is where we drop anchor on today's show. Thoroughly excited to do this with you once again, Banky.
Yeah, Edwin, it's always good to be here to talk sports, talk football, and from me to our audience, have yourself a lovely weekend.
And from me, Edwin Onyebole, said, do have a fantastic week.